Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Prescott. I'm here at PsychSync, Sync Psychology, and today we are going to start Chapter 12, Social Psychology, from the online OpenStack Psychology 2E textbook. So without further ado, let's get going. So, how does social psychology, how does the presence of other people influence the behavior of individuals, dyads, and groups? So Trayvon Martin, 17, was shot to death at the hands of George Zimmerman, a volunteer neighborhood watchman, in 2012. Was his death the result of self-defense or a racial bias? That question drew hundreds of people to rally on each side of this heated debate. Excuse me. So what is social psychology? Social psychology deals with all kinds of interactions between people, spanning a wide range of how we connect, from moments of confrontation to moments of working together and helping others. Social psychologists believe that an individual's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are influenced by social situations. So intrapersonal topics include emotions and attitudes, the self and social cognition, while interpersonal topics include help and behavior, aggression, prejudice and discrimination, attraction and close relationship, and group processes and intergroup relationships. So right here we have, this would be an interpersonal topic, because you can see all these people are helping get this car up the hill. Now, situational and dispositional influences on behavior. Now, situationism is the view that our behavior and actions are determined by our immediate environment and surroundings. It is used by social psychologists. Then we have dispositionism, the view that our behavior is determined by internal factors, an attribute of a person such as personality traits and temperament. So this is favored in the US and is used by personality psychologists. Modern social psychologists often consider both the situation and individual, so not just one or the other. Next, we have the fundamental attribution error. So the fundamental attribution error is the tendency to overemphasize internal factors as explanations/attributions for the variety of other people and underestimate the power of the situation. People tend to fail to recognize when a person's behavior is due to situational variables. So, for example, we have the Quizmaster study. Participants were randomly assigned to play the role of either the questioner or participant. Questioners developed difficult questions to which they knew the answers, and participants answered questions correctly 4 out of 10 times. Participants tended to disregard the influence of the situation and wrongly concluded that a questioner's knowledge was greater than their own. So that's the Quizmaster study. Now, is the fundamental attribution error a universal phenomenon? Does it occur everywhere? Research suggests that people from an individualistic culture have the greatest tendency to commit the fundamental attribution error. People from collectivistic cultures, and we talked about the difference between a collectivistic versus individualistic culture in the most recent video, so part 3 of the chapter 11. So, anyways, just letting you guys know if you wanted more detail about that. But people from collectivistic cultures, such as some Asian cultures, are more likely to emphasize relationships with others than to focus primarily on the individual. Collectivists, they're in it together. Now, focusing on others provides a broader perspective, including both situation and cultural influences. So, activities such as A, preparing a meal, this can be seen here, I don't know why I'm pointing at it, like you guys can see my hands. B, hanging out, and C, playing a game, engage people in a group. Now, actor-observer bias is the phenomenon of explaining other people's behaviors are due to internal factors and their own behaviors are due to situational forces. Now, we often make the fundamental attribution error because we do not have enough information to make a situational explanation about the person's behavior. However, when we explain our own behaviors, we have more information available and are more likely to make situational explanations. One study investigated reasons male participants gave for why they liked their girlfriend. Now, actor-observer bias is evident when subjects explain their own reasons for liking their girlfriend, example, her personality, versus their impressions of others' reasons for liking a girlfriend. So, situational traits were much higher than the dispositional traits, so situational external, own reasons for liking a girlfriend, but then the friend's reasons for liking a girlfriend, these situational traits here in like the kind of purple color, were about equal to the dispositional traits. Next, we have a self-serving bias. It is the tendency of an individual to take credit by making dispositional or internal attributions for positive outcomes, but situational or external attributions for negative outcomes. And it protects your self-esteem and allows people to feel good about their accomplishments. Now, attribution is a belief about the cause of a result. One model of attribution proposes 3 dimensions. Locus of control, so internal versus external. We also talked about that in the last chapter. Again, internal locus of control, you blame your own actions, your own failings when you mess up something. External, it's somebody else's fault. Next, we have stability, the extent to which the circumstances are changeable. And finally, controllability, extent to which the circumstances can be controlled. When our team wins, we make attributions such as it's talented, internal, works hard, stable, and uses effective strategies, controllable. So all 3 of those dimensions. Now, when our team loses, we might say the other team has more experienced players, so the external locus of control. The other team played at home, it is unstable, and the weather affected our team's performance, so it's an uncontrollable thing. And I don't think the weather could affect the team's performance in a hockey game, but I get what I put the picture there. Next, we have the just world I'm sorry, guys, I can't talk today. The just world hypothesis, and is a consequence of the tendency to provide dispositional explanations for behavior is victim blame. Just world hypothesis, belief that people get the outcomes they deserve. It's based on the belief that the world is a fair place, and therefore good people experience positive outcomes and bad people experience negative outcomes. It allows people to feel that the world is predictable and we have some control over life outcomes. People who hold just world beliefs tend to blame the people in poverty for their circumstances, ignoring situational and cultural causes of poverty. Social roles. Social role is a pattern of behavior that is expected of a person in a given setting or group. Example, being a student, we each have several social roles defined by culturally shared knowledge, and behavior related to social roles varies across situations. So being a student is just one of the many social roles you have. Next, we have social norms and scripts. Now, a social norm is a group's expectation of what is appropriate and acceptable behavior for its members. So, how are we supposed to behave and think? What are we supposed to talk about? And what are we expected to wear? Now, script is the person's knowledge about the sequence of events expected in a specific setting. So, how do you act when you walk into an elevator on the first day of school or in a restaurant? Scripts can vary between cultures, or they do vary, and important sources of information to guide behavior in situations. So, for example, young people struggle to become independent. At the same time, they're desperately trying to fit in with their peers. So, Philip Zimbardo, the Stanford prison, that picture really just shocked me there. I did not expect that. The Stanford prison experiment, 1971, this is very interesting stuff right here, but it demonstrated the power of social roles, social norms, and scripts. A mock prison was constructed and participants, male college students, were randomly assigned to play the role of prisoners or guards. In a very short amount of time, the guards started to harass the prisoner in an increasingly sadistic manner. Prisoners began to show signs of severe anxiety and hopelessness. The 2-week study had to be ended after just 6 days. The social norms required guards to be authoritarian and prisoners to be submissive. And the scripts influenced the way guards degraded the prisoners by making them do push-ups and removing privacy. The parallels of abuse used by guards this parallels the abuse used by guards in the Abu Ghraib prison. So if you don't know, Iraqi prisoners of war were abused by their American captors in the Abu Ghraib prison during the Second Iraq War, and they were not treated very well. So this prison experiment kind of reinforced and paralleled the treatment of prisoners of war in that prison. So attitude is our evaluation of a person, an idea, or an object. It can be positive or negative. It can be influenced by external forces and internal factors that we control. And there are 3 components. 1, affective component, or feelings. 2 is the behavioral component, the effect of the attitude on behavior. And 3, we have the cognitive component, or the belief and knowledge. So, cognitive dissonance. Leon Festinger's theory of cognitive dissonance. Now, cognitive dissonance is a psychological discomfort arising from holding 2 or more inconsistent attitudes, behaviors, or cognitions. Believing cigarettes are bad for your health, but smoking cigarettes anyway can cause cognitive dissonance. To reduce cognitive dissonance, individuals can change their behavior by quitting smoking, change their belief through rationalization or denial, such as discounting the evidence that smoking is harmful, or they can add a new cognition. Smoking suppresses appetite so I don't become overweight, which is good for my health. Later research found only conflicting cognitions that threaten positive self-image cause dissonance. Dissonance can also cause physiological arousal and activate brain regions involved in emotions and cognitive functioning. So here's an example or a nice chart. Cognitive dissonance. The dissonance, smoking is bad for your health, and you are a smoker, leads to cognitive dissonance. So you remove the dissonance tension. So, for example, smoking is bad for your health, going to quit smoking to remove it. Otherwise, you could do the research is inconclusive, I'm still a smoker, but we don't know for sure if it gives you lung cancer, that kind of thing. Now, the effect of initiation. So justification of effort has a distinct effect on a person liking a group. A difficult initiation into a group influences us to like the group more. The Aronson and Mills experiment in 1959, college students volunteered to join a group that would regularly meet to discuss the psychology of sex. 3 conditions: no initiation, easy initiation, and difficult initiation. Students in the difficult initiation condition liked the group more than students in other conditions due to the justification of effort. So here you can see none, the relative magnitude of liking a group. None was the lowest, easy was a bit higher, but difficult initiation that led to the participants to be much more positive about the group. So, persuasion is the process of changing our attitudes towards something based on some kind of communication. How do people convince others to change their attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors? We encounter attempts at persuasion attempts everywhere. Persuasion is not limited to formal advertising. We are confronted with it throughout our everyday world. So here you can see persuasions. Person has one too many stickers on their car, I think. Elaboration likelihood model. Petty and Cacioppo, I hope I'm saying that right, 1986. Persuasion can take one of 2 paths, and then the durability of the end result depends on the path. So, central route, logic-driven, uses data and facts. It's a direct route to persuasion, focusing on the quality of information, and it works best when the audience is analytical and willing to engage in processing of the information. Next, we have the peripheral route, or the edge. It's the indirect route. It uses peripheral cues to associate positivity with the message. It uses characteristics such as positive emotion or celebrity endorsement, and finally results in less permanent attitude change. Next, we have, well, no, not next, just a chart, to better break it down. The elaboration likelihood model. Again, Petty and Cacioppo in 1986. You have your persuasive message. Going down the central route, the audience is motivated, analytical, processing is high effort, and you have to evaluate the message. And the persuasion is a lasting change in attitude. Meanwhile, the peripheral route, or the roundabout, audience is not motivated, not analytical. The processing is low effort, persuaded by cues outside of message, and the persuasion is temporary change in attitude. Next, we have a foot in the door technique. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. Persuader gets a person to agree to a small favor only to later request a larger favor. So our past behavior often directs our future behavior or desire to maintain consistency. So with the foot in the door technique, a small request such as A, wearing a campaign button, can turn into a large request such as B, putting campaign signs in your yard. So, like it says, foot in the door, give up one little request to then try and, I think of it like a cartoon, person trying to close the door on somebody, they stick their foot in the door, and then they push into the room. And all of a sudden you've got a million Obama and Biden signs in your yard. Next, we have conformity from Solomon Ask. Conformity is the change in a person's behavior to go along with the group, even if he does not agree with the group. Now, Ask is an experiment. These line segments illustrate the judgment task in Ask's conformity study. Which line on the right, A, B, or C, is the same length as line X on the left? So, which line from A, B, and C is the same length as X? So the Ask effect, the influence of the group majority on the individual's judgment. In Ask's study, there was one naive subject. The rest were Confederates who purposely gave the wrong answer. Oh, I remember this now. I remember seeing this study. A lot of these studies, if you're interested, you can find videos on YouTube of organizations conducting pretty much the exact same study, so you can get to see how people react. It's pretty entertaining. It's really funny, actually. So anyways, 76% of participants conform to group pressure at least once by also indicating the incorrect line. So what factors make a person more likely to conform? The size of the majority, so the greater the majority, the more likely an individual will conform, and the presence of another dissenter causes conformity rates to drop to near zero. The public or private nature of the responses. Public responses cause more conformity than private. So voting for government officials in the United States is private to reduce the pressure of conformity. That's why when you go to a voting booth, you can't see somebody else's response, because then it would influence you conform to whoever's winning. So for example, the experiment, at least you can tell if you look at it that line C is the same length as line X. But if you were in a large crowd and everybody was saying that line A was the one, you might conform and say, okay, yeah, line A is the one, because everybody around me is saying so. So, motivation to conform. Well, actually, we will finish up this. I didn't realize how fast I was going, or how long I was going for, guys. I apologize, but I hope you found this video interesting and educational, maybe a bit entertaining with me constantly stumbling on my own words. But again, my name is Prescott. I'm here at PsychSyncs, the Sync Psychology, and in the next video, we will wrap up Chapter 12. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.